Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. Another episode of Garrett's Food coming your way. I'm going to make delicious country buttermilk biscuits. You know the fear and anxiety associated with opening a can of biscuits? Never knowing when they're going to bust and just sitting there like, oh no! Well, don't do that to yourself. Make your own. They're simple and they taste a million times better. I want to start by telling you a little bit about the flour. I use a self-rising flour. All that means is it's already got the leaveners in it. Now, if you can't find self-rising flour where you're at, no big deal. I'm going to put at the end with the recipe the way you can make your own. We have our flour already in the bowl, measured out. My biscuits use a couple different kinds of fat. The first one's butter. The second one is, wait for it, hog lard. Delicious rendered fat from a pig. I like to call it white gold. I like to call it suey sunshine. It is delicious. It goes great in these biscuits, and it's going to make a huge difference in the way they taste and the beautiful crumb that you get. The crumb, you know, when you bite into it, and it just goes in your mouth, and you're like, oh, sweet Jesus. Another way to ensure that your biscuits are going to be super light and fluffy is to make sure that that fat is ice cold, just like my gnarled heart. So in goes the butter, and in goes the lard. It's ice cold, been in the freezer. Get every bit of it out there. Yourself, why in the devil is he using his big hot hands to cut in that cold butter? Isn't that gonna melt it? Well, my hands aren't that hot. The fact of the matter is your hands are your best tool, and mine are really, really skilled. So far, we've got the fat cut in. See how that looks? It's almost like just damp sand. See, if you mush it, it'll stay just a little bit. Here's a biscuit secret. After I put in the fat and get it all mixed in with my big hot hands, even though it's still cold, I slide it into the freezer. Look at that. Just hanging out with the vodka. Just waiting to become delicious biscuits. Did you know that the English call cookies biscuits? Wonder what they call biscuits.
Scones, you bloody ninny.
You know, I read Marie Antoinette originally was going to say, let them eat biscuits instead of let them eat cake. I can guarantee you, if that would have been the case, she wouldn't have had her head cut off. The earliest biscuits were baked up to 4 times. You ever heard of the term hard tack? That's what they were. That was an original biscuit. Hard tack. Hard tack and gruel. Hard tack and gruel me. We've got our flour and fat out of the freezer. Say that fast 3 times. Now we're going to add our buttermilk. Now just stir in that buttermilk with your fork. Now this is the consistency of your dough. Can you see that? Some people might be a little bit intimidated because they think rolling a biscuit or cutting it somehow hard or tedious, but it's not at all. In fact, I don't even roll mine. I just use my hands again. This biscuit dough onto your floured surface. Alright, just sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. Lightly pat. Get a little bit on your hands. Gather that up real lightly. Be gentle with it. See that? You're not adding a whole lot of flour. In fact, scrape some of that away if you've got too much. Because you want a light, tender biscuit, and that's gonna not happen if you put too much flour. Now see? Now you can pat it. It's just that little bit helped. Hear that sound? Sounds like my belly when it's full. Biscuits are nice and patted out. So now it's time for the fun part, the cutting of the biscuits. Just going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of oil to the bottom of our pan. Make sure you put the biscuits up nice and close together. Let them be friends. Let them get to know each other. And there you have it. 12 beautiful biscuits. So we've got our oven preheated to 430 degrees, and it's time to put these beauties in. In they go. I grew up making biscuits, eating biscuits, and being around biscuits. In fact, for a little while I was known as Biscuit because I was so light, fluffy, and full of fat. Now, for the last 7 minutes of baking, we're going to move the biscuits from the bottom rack of the oven up to the top rack. Thanks so much for joining me today on Garrett's Food to make these delicious Southern Buttermilk Biscuits. I hope you'll try to make them at home. Try them out on the people you love and just show them how much you care about them by making these from scratch, because they're head and shoulders above all those other kind of biscuits or breads you can buy in the refrigerated section at your grocery store. You can have them with butter and jelly. You can put some meat inside of them. You can slather them with some good creamy gravy. They're good with just about anything. I thank you again for joining me. Hope you have a good day. Bye-bye. I love my biscuits with butter and jelly. Put that in there and let it melt. Yum. You make these biscuits and eat these biscuits, you'll never try another biscuit.